Hi there again. This is Zappa from Mythical Family. Today I'm just going to kind of go for a quick little video on basically how to thin your paints. How to actually get the paint off your brush without looking like a big globby mess. Um, and maybe we could go over a little bit about washes um, and glazes and what are the differences are for that. So real quick, we'll get started. We'll show you what we have here. Um, and it's very important not to take your paint right out of the bottle and just slap it on any old mini. You needed to have it come off or flow off your brush real easily. Otherwise it causes problems. I'll give you an example. I'm going to grab a little bottle of AK acrylic color, green, dark green to be exact. And I'm going to take it right straight out of the bottle. You can go ahead and switch down if you like. So it comes out of the bottle. It comes out fairly thick, about the same consistency as Vallejo, but not as thick as like Citadel or and not as thin as airbrushing. So you can see it's fairly thick. You can get it up. You get it onto your brush. I'll take a little bit off. Now, with the problem with this being this thick, I'll put it on my hand. It can well up a little bit. It will, I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of curls up a little bit on the outside. It doesn't just flow off the thing. You have to actually push down a little bit to get it off. And it causes that bit of a lip around that paint. Do it again on here. Can't really see it that well. Um, but you can see there's a lot of pooling, a lot of um, deeper, thicker paint than just a thin paint. So all your paints need just a little bit of thinning. Let's rinse off my brush here a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of water. Now, it's a bit of not a real science, but like more of an art. You want your paint to be fairly thin, but at the same time, not so thin it's translucent. All paint's a little bit translucent, but you want to keep some of that opacity in there. You want it to come off your brush, not forcing it, but just so. I'm just testing it, seeing if it rolls down, whatever. I'll translucent. It's pretty opaque. And it's fairly liquid. It's almost like a milk, a little less than a milk thickness. Now when we put it on, very gently I can put it on. It just comes off the brush. Very smooth. You don't have that curling around the edges. There's no real, it's all very uniform and very thick. This is pretty opaque. I may even thin it down just a little bit more. But that's really good. It's coming off the brush real nicely. I don't have to even put not much pressure on it. It's coming off nicely. I'm not forcing it at all. That's what you really want. You don't want to fight with it. You want to just roll with it. You just want to be a nice, smooth little process. Now let's move on to, you can see this palette's been well loved and not real taken care of very well. I'm going to use a little bit of gray. I'm going to show you how to do a wash and so forth. Washes and glazes. What is the difference between a wash and a glaze? You'll hear that quite frequently. Well, the difference is basically how thin it is. With a glaze, it's just like putting a filter or a film. You're slightly changing the color from one to another, or putting a filter over another. So I'm going to really thin this down. I'm going to give you an example. These are feathers. They'll give you a good example. They have some really good detail, really thick detail, which will lend well for showing you how this works. So you're thinning this down, it's going to be really thin. It's going to be almost translucent. Oh, it is going to be translucent. Still not there yet. He thinks I put too much paint in here.
It really doesn't look like that much. Are you saying that just because of the amount of water that's keeping it thin?
Yeah.
Or...
I'm trying to get it to thin out some more. So I'm going to try this at home, kids. There we go. It's a little better. It's almost a wash now, though. As I pull it up on the side, you can see it's really translucent. You can see it in the back there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's thicker than a wash, though.
Yes. So we'll just place a little bit of this. Onto our feather here. Actually, it's thin enough to be a wash. Well, maybe in between. It is giving that bit of a filter over the feathers themselves. So it is changing the color of the whole entire feather. The thing about the glaze, it actually stays on top. It doesn't go down to the recesses. I'm just going to kind of slurp up some of that excess paint. It's a glaze. Staying on top. It's changing that white feather into this light gray. It's not really getting down into the feathers, not giving that definition within the feather itself. Okay, does that make sense, I hope? So let's thin it down a little bit more. Now what a wash will do you can see as you're putting it up on the wall, it just kind of comes back down. It doesn't really stay up there.
A hint of color and then...
Yep, comes right back down.
The rest of it just goes away.
Washes that go into the crevices. So it gives you more detail of the feather, but still keeps pretty much the same color that you have intended. You just kind of slurp it on. You just kind of throw it all over the place. Now as it dries, it's going to go down into the feather itself. Just kind of...
So the other side, when you were doing it and putting it on there, it almost gave the feathers kind of like a translucent shimmer, even though the paint is not glittery.
Correct.
Like they're actually like, I don't know, it became like a metallic gray, pearl gray kind of thing. On the other side, on the camera, what I see is so much more texture because now the feathers look more full.
Correct.
Because it's like in the, and it's really cool to see it on the camera, to see it on the screen, to see the differences as you flip from one side to the other. Like what using one paint but just different thinness, the actual difference between the two. That's really cool.
Yeah. As you can see, this one, you can't really tell the outline of the feathers that well, but you can see it definitely changed the color. They put a filter of a gray over it.
Yes.
Then the other side, you could start seeing that depth as it's going down into the crevices.
Yeah,
and that's what a wash does.
It almost looks like there's a little bit of black in the cracks, in
Right.
the crevices.
Right. And that's kind of what we want. This might be a little bit more of a glaze still because it's still kind of discoloring those feathers a little bit. Wipe some of that off. But it is going down into those crevices, and that's what we want. This is what we kind of do. Washes we tend to do a lot with shadowing, while glazes... oh, that's actually kind of picking up nicely now. Glazes, like I said, just kind of gives you a little different color differentiation. See, it's almost a wash. You can start seeing the differences. You can start seeing the feathers a little bit as it dries. So washes tend to go down, while glazes can go up.
And that's just due to the thickness?
Due to the thickness.
Does it matter what kind of paint you thin to get that effect? Like, this is acrylic, correct?
Yes, this is acrylic. No, it doesn't matter. You can do it with any paint.
Okay.
So it's kind of unique.
That is really cool, the difference.
So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Just wanted to show you that because we're going to be using quite a bit of glazes and washes when I do the actual figures that's coming up. So just kind of wanted to show that. See, that's really popping now.
Yeah, that looks incredible. Do you normally let it dry and then like decide whether you want to go in with more layers or?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, pretty much with a wash or a glaze, you're just doing it one time. Um, um, Typically with glazes, you tend to want to do it a little bit more if you want to get a little more different, a little more bolder tint to it. Than with a wash. A wash, you want to just get down to those
Okay.
those areas, those crevices. So, okay, that's all I really wanted to show you guys today. Hopefully that helps you out. If you have any questions, go ahead and put in the comments.
Do you always use water? Do you ever use alcohol? Do you ever use?
I do use a flow improver, which helps just like water, but it helps it um, come off the brush just as easy.
Okay. So the flow improver doesn't dilute the color.
Correct. It
It
doesn't dilute
just
that color
helps it come
off the
slide off the
brush.
brush better rather than like in globs.
Correct.
Um, do you use distilled water, regular water? Is it important to use distilled water?
It
Does it
depends who
matter?
you talk to. I've always used just regular water, but I'm thinking about using distilled. The reason for that is sometimes the hardness of your water can actually change the color of your mini. Um,
Oh, that makes sense. The minerals.
yeah, the mineral. So it might give you a little bit of a yellowish tint to it sometimes. I've only seen it happen a couple times to my minis, but that's one reason why I kind of want to try to see if distilled was a better option. Um, but you can use regular water. It's just be aware that sometimes it might give you a yellowish hue if you have a hard water. That's all.
Okay. Interesting. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.